bit underrated so far in the tournament.
Yeah,
I also feel like, yeah, and maybe it combo well with something like Alice's Hissy Fit, so we'll see if that comes out. Zephys, I think, is 100% pick ban today, so maybe we'll see why this game.
Meanwhile, looks like we are seeing an hover over the Alice as well as the L'Oreal. No hesitation whatsoever, as you predicted, man. They're going to be complementing that Malak with the Alice, and not bad, because this is going to be, just right off the bat, Malak, Alice. These are two heroes that allows L'Oreal to thrive.
That Xanis pickup is really interesting. He is incredibly snowball reliant, so they're going to be wanting to be dominating in the early game incredibly hard. Oh, the Crick Knock. Come on. Lock it.
Oh,
let's go. Come on. Yeah,
okay.
Baby, let's go.
Okay,
Knock, of course. Those Nutters buffs this most recent patch where he gained, I did the math and wrote it down, and it was something like 1.5 AD scaling was added to his abilities total, which is ridiculous. And then the flat damage total came out to, I think, 700 or 800. So his damage is disgusting now. So I'm really excited to see this pickup.
Yeah, I'm honestly not surprised by the excitement with this Cricknack pick, because I recall prior to casting the grand finals for Valor Cup Season 2, a lot of the teams were concerned, were they going to be playing on the new patch? And like, when we asked why particularly, it was because they were particularly concerned about how buff this Cricknack is now. So I'm personally very excited to see just how far the buffs went with this Cricknack, and to see just why a lot of the players from Season 2 Valor Cup were particularly concerned about this hero. But talking about these compositions a bit more, I mean, I think once again a very straightforward composition coming from Tribu Defiance. It's very clear who they want to protect here. Of course, L'Oreal and Cricknack you want to get to thrive. Malak, Alice, and Sinyo, three heroes that will allow them to do just that. Meanwhile, Dynamic is a little bit more different here, coming in from SteelWolves.Dire, because, well, the Lumber generally probably going to be the only one that actually tries to get a set alongside the Lubu, but Xanis, Zephys, as well as the Joker, all in one composition. That's going to be massive damage that Tribu Defiance is going to have to deal with. But given that they have the Malak, Alice, and Sinil, I think they should be able to manage just fine.
Absolutely. Like you were saying, that damage is disgusting. So hopefully there's a way for the blue side to mitigate that, because I worry a little bit. You know, when you have these two or 2.5, if you want to count Malak, because he does put out a lot of damage.
True.
Threat compositions. Once those threats are down, that's a big problem. Weird how that works, right? When you only have 2 threats, if both of them die,
exactly,
you lose all your damage. I know that's high level. No, but it really is a concern for them, especially because there's stuff like the Zephys, the Xanis, both assassins incredibly skilled at getting into that backline. Joker able to poke out incredibly well and assassinate on his own is in addition. So, they're really going to have to be careful in these team fights on the side of Tribu Defiance.
It's actually a great point that you raised there, because with that being said, I think that's just a massive showing of how they need to be super on point when it comes to communication, when it comes to teamwork, because this Sinil and Alice has to be on point with what support that they bring to the table. Malak, to an extent, sure, like you mentioned, he's kind of half and half, the best of both worlds. So if Tribu Defiance can do just that, then I'd say that we have quite the contender here, because this isn't the type of composition that you're going to be able to pull off quite easily.
Yeah, exactly. But we're going to have to pay attention in the early and mid game, especially because this game can go either way, essentially, at this point. And I know that sounds like the most generic statement of all time, but here it's especially true, because both these comps have snowbally elements, right? Because you have the Cricknock, who now scales so well with AD, with levels, with basically everything. You have the L'Oreal, who scales so well with those as well, and items especially. But on the other side, you have Xanis, you have Zephys, 2 people excelling at just dishing out damage and need to snowball. But the first engage is coming out, 518, in a little bit of trouble, but kiting back. That Cricknock is going to be safe for now. L'Oreal as well, backing off. No death's going to go down in the first fight of the game, so that's kind of a good sign.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, especially for um okay, this is where I start struggling with the lack of tags. Okay, luckily SteelWolves does have their tags up, so anybody that doesn't have SW is probably most likely the other team. But anyways, yeah, as I was saying, um, that's probably a better situation for. Okay, I am seeing some action here towards the bot side, though.
Oh, Abyssal Dragon getting taken there, and the fight is going to start here. I don't know if they really wanted to take this. SteelWolves has the advantage in numbers, going to take first blood. Blaze picking it up on Xanis, getting that stack for his passive.
Oh man, that was unfortunate for the senior. Wrong place at the wrong time. And you have to take into account the positioning of the rest of Tribu Defiance right there. Nobody was really in the position to help him out unless he could get an ultimate out there to safety, but that's kind of a tricky situation considering that almost everybody on the side of SteelWolves has a way to cancel out that channeling on the ultimate. So rather unfortunate for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So first blood going down in favor of SteelWolves. We'll see if they can keep up the tempo. They have a 1k gold lead so far, but it's incredibly early into the game, of course. Zephys, we see, just going to back off a little bit there. And the top side looks like it'll be the next point of contention. There are 4 members of SteelWolves here, but why? I couldn't quite tell you. It looks like they're just looking for a pick here onto LLNI, but he's not stupid. He's going to be careful about this position, and he just got poked out, so he knows someone's here.
Oh, no.
This might be a problem now. Hope getting dove on. He's going to have to back out and blow all of his cooldowns defensively. This is a lot of damage that they've been missing. The Earth Splitter going out, but instead Lumber is going to be the first one to go down. I is in trouble, but the team is going to be able to take it 3 for 2 in favor of Tribu Defiance. What a great fight so far, but it's not over. SteelWolves re-engaging onto that L'Oreal. L'Oreal dying quite quickly there. And SteelWolves, that Joker is going to try and pick up Hope. He gets it. Great snipe out. Going to grab those double buffs.
Oh my goodness. SteelWolves definitely coming off better in that fight. I mean, by the time that... Okay, here's the tricky part right here. If it's the supports that go down early and the carries aren't quite in a position to continue fighting, then there's not really much that they could do there at that point, unless they could go for some crazy outplay. But considering the composition that SteelWolves has, like I've been mentioning, there's a lot of damage across the board. And it doesn't matter who you take down from SteelWolves, they're just going to be able to have a lot more. Okay, that's an unfortunate position for the Senior.
BG just going to die to dots there. Nope. W was like, wait. I don't want to risk it. I'm just going to take him out myself. Hold on, guys. And so he does. But you were mentioning that last team fight, and I think one of the big problems, not only did the supports go down and they continued the fight, but Kriknock had to use all those abilities that give him damage to get away. And then they still fought. It's just good from SteelWolves from forcing all that out and keeping fighting, realizing that they have the advantage. But on the other hand, if you're Tribu Defiance, you need to realize this is how our comp works. If Kriknock doesn't have damage, we don't have half our damage as LLNI gets picked off in the top lane.
Ooh, that is rather unfortunate, especially when you're a Malok of all heroes, not to mention. Probably a bit more forgivable, let's say, if it were maybe the L'Oreal, maybe the Alice, maybe the Kriknak. But if you're going to see a Malok go down that fast, you know that there's going to be quite the number of problems for Tribu Defiance. But it looks like we have a team fight.
Re-engage going in, the Hissy Fit going out. Queen in so much trouble. That L'Oreal is getting low, finally picked off. Going to be 1-for-1 so far, but the fight is not over. And it never is, Arctic. But W going to be able to escape thanks to his ultimate. The Peel going down. 518 might be in a lot of trouble. Nope. Going to be able to survive there just barely by the skin of his tiny, tiny bug exoskeleton.
Ooh, looks like... Interesting enough, though, SteelWolves, I was expecting that could have been something that Tribu Defiance would be able to capitalize on, but then again, I'd say SteelWolves was able to get out of that sticky situation quite well, but we are still in a position wherein... Okay, so we are seeing yet another Abyssal Dragon take coming in from SteelWolves. So far, they have been much more on top of things than I'd say Tribu Defiance is, and at this point, I think SteelWolves would probably be much more in a position where they'd want to start looking for fights more so than Tribu Defiance would.
Mm. And really, they have been. 2.8k gold up because they've been forcing those fights. They've been winning them quite handily. And if you're on the side of Tribu Defiance, we've seen this problem pop up a few times today. When you're behind, a lot of teams either try to go for plays that are way too aggressive, or they just don't go for any plays at all, and they just cede the entire map. And it's so hard to find that balance, right? But you really need to focus on it. As LLNI gets picked off here in the top side, he uses the shock to try and escape, but no such luck. And it's stuff like that, right? Stuff like getting caught out when you don't have any support, where you need to be incredibly careful. Hope, wow, a little too hopeful in getting that engaged there. And as a result, Snorlax getting taken out. L'Oreal and Cricknock, the only ones alive for their team, but this chase coming out from Blaze. Going to be able to make it out in time, but this is a scary game now if you're Tribu Defiance, because you're 4k down. Your damage threats are really not getting to do damage, as we see L'Oreal getting dove on again. She has popped the smite, so going to be able to put out a lot of damage, but is it enough to save BG? BG has to ult onto the L'Oreal just to keep himself alive. And they lose a tower in the mid lane, so they're just losing everything all over the map here.
Oh, man. I mean, sure, Tribu Defiance, given the composition that they have, they can kind of afford to be reactive, but not this reactive to the extent wherein they're allowing SteelWolves to dictate the flow of this game. But are they going to go for Dark Slayer? Wow.
They have the damage for it, right? Their composition is just like all damage. But I don't know if they have the tankiness. They're taking a whole lot from it. Nope. They were able to get it. That is crazy good for them. The 8.5 minute Dark Slayer on a team that has just been stomping fights. It's going to be a dangerous next few minutes.
That was actually an interesting set coming in from SteelWolves. I can kind of see why that was almost the perfect timing to go for Dark Slayer. If you can notice the waves coming in from both mid lane as well as bottom lane, they were kind of pushed in towards Tribu Defiance. And of course, since those waves were naturally pushing in, Tribu Defiance didn't really have the natural inclination would be to deal with those waves first up before reaching into other parts of the entire battlefield. And that was just enough time for SteelWolves to have gone for that Dark Slayer. And this is going to be big, man. I mean, I feel like having deja vu of games past wherein once Dark Slayer is taken, that's where the avalanche is about to come.
Absolutely. And it looks like they're trying to set up for that. They have the wave in the mid lane. Waves are pushing in bot. And Joker's just split pushing that bottom tower as the mid tower is taken quite handily. This might be another twofer where they take two towers at once from the outside. As Blaze goes in, he gets a lot of damage down, but he might be in a little bit of trouble. His health bar is dropping quickly, and he finally dies. LLNI going in with a shock, but he misses everyone. They're going to have to disengage here if they want a chance of living.
Okay,
that
was...
for none.
And not just that, you have to take note. Looks like Tribu Defiance actually going to manage to salvage all their high ground turrets, and I think the tricky part there for SteelWolves is, okay, sure, they're ahead, but if you're going to notice, a lot of the reasons why they were able to win the bigger team fights is if they function as a unit, overwhelm the side of Tribu Defiance with the massive damage output that they have. If they miss out on at least one piece in that team fight, one hero that's able to dish out the damage, then that's a bit of a cripple in itself. And I think that's what happened right there, which is why they encountered that one casualty.
Absolutely. But it was a good defense there from Tribu as a result. They got the pick, and that stopped the push. And now the Dark Slayer buff is off, so they have a chance. Hope having to pop that ultimate there, keep him mobile, but it's got such a short cooldown that really it's not a concern at this point anymore. But the push that is coming out into their base is.
Ooh. Look at this, the Joker just soloing down there, but oh no.
Oh my god, that Earth Splitter. Sorry to interrupt you, but this is a shocking Earth Splitter, no pun intended, and it looks like the dive is going down onto L'Oreal. She is putting out so much damage by herself almost. Only 2 left on the team, but they are wiping the side of SteelWolves. It was ridiculous. L'Oreal, she is definitely worth it.
Oh man, I see what you did there, man. But at the end of the day, I gotta say, at least Steel Wolves was a bit tricky towards the upper side, but Joker did manage to get some value off of his push towards the bot side. Not only was he able to deal with whoever was defending from Tribu Defiance, but got the high ground turret as a result. So at the end of the day, sure, wasn't quite the winning fight towards the upper side, but I'd say as long as that they get value by taking down a turret, which is a high ground turret towards the bot side, I'd say that's worth almost.
Well, I mean, it kind of is, though, right? Because while the 2v4 was incredibly impressive, and BG, and I'm not going to try and pronounce L'Oreal's name because I'll mess it up. They're both killer players. We know this. We've seen it. 2v4s are really hard to pull off. That was really impressive. Good peel from BG. Great damage dealing from L'Oreal there with the smite, using the wheel, using the blink so perfectly. But they lost the high ground tower, both in top and bot, off that push. So while the fight was impressive, yes, like you were saying, Joker got the bot lane tower, and that means that initial fight was, at best, 4v5 in favor of Tribu Defiance, and they were kind of able to pull out the win, but I worry about a 5v5 team fight that's going to be forced here because the only place left for them to go is this mid lane.
Exactly, and with just a mid lane tower that keeps Steel Wolves from going full on in. Oh no, speaking of full on in.
Oh no, the engage, the Earth Splitter coming out, but the shock gets 4. There's so much damage coming out here from the L'Oreal. She's got the smite, she's got the damage. The AoEs are going down hard and fast from her, but it's not going to be enough to kill them just yet. She loses her ultimate and her life. The ace coming out for the side of Steel Wolves, and they are going to push it in for the win at this point.
Oh man,
look at good fight.
Look at Steel was just waiting for the waves to come in before they close in on the core, but very, very well played. Just another dominating performance, and that's gonna be SteelWolves.Dire taking a game against Tribu Defiance.
Yeah, we were hopeful, right,
yeah,
for Tribu to pull out the win because they were doing really well. That team fight in the top lane, beautiful. But they weren't quite able to pull it out in a full 5v5 because they were down so much. You know, the objective control there and really just the fighting coming out from Steel Wolves was so impressive. And honestly, I still can't point to one reason